Welcome everyone to Armchair Travel. We're going to Aix-en-Provence with Roberta Hammond, and today is September 11th, 2025. So welcome to East Rock Creek Village. We're a local nonprofit of neighbors helping neighbors to be able to age and continue to grow even as we grow older. So if you're interested in learning about East Rock Creek Village, you can come to our website, uh, eastrockcreekvillage.org. And we're really glad that we have so many friends and new friends joining us today. I'm Shelley, and I'm going to hand it off to Roberta because we have 3 weeks in Aix-en-Provence and Environs. So welcome. Thank you, Roberta, for offering to do this.
Hi, everybody. I'm just going to get started. This trip was I didn't want to go that fast though. Uh, this trip was a trip that I had looked at in the Smithsonian uh, catalog for a couple of years, and then we decided we would go ahead and do it because I couldn't get it out of my mind. And so just to give you a background, I have a background in anthropology with a subset of archaeology, even though that's misspelled, I just noticed. And I went to school in France as a child, so I have a long history with living in France or, you know, different living in different parts of France. We lived mostly outside of Paris at the time. And this particular presentation is going to be mostly art appreciation, art history kind of stuff. The tour, um, we usually don't do tours, but we've gotten to where it's easier to have somebody else do the scheduling and everything. And the 3 weeks in Provence, you had a choice of three concentrations. One was cooking, one was language, and one was art and art architecture. And I chose the art and architecture, and Mike chose the language. Some of the people in our tour did all three, and they were very busy. There were 20 people, and it was a good number. We stayed in Aix-en-Provence the whole time and then traveled in and out of there. And what I'm going to talk about is sort of, what it's like to be hanging out in Aix, some of the museums we went to, and some of the visits to other towns. Um, I'm not going to talk a whole lot about dates and history like we're in a class or anything. I didn't figure anybody be interested in that too much. Um, so here's France, and Aix-en-Provence is way down here in the southeastern part of France. And over here on the right is a bigger map of the area. You see that Marseille, which is one of the places I'm going to talk about, is right here. Aix is a little bit north of Marseille. And we also went to Avignon and Arles and to some of the towns in here. There's a lot of like little villages scattered throughout. The map of Aix, generally, this Cour Mirabeau here is the main drag, and there's a square here that is a big fountain that I'll show you a picture of. And then it goes for about 4 or 5 blocks here. And there's a lot of activity here. Our hotel was off here to the left a little bit. It was about a 10-15 minute walk from downtown. And up here, north of the Cour Mirabeau, especially in this area right here with the Hôtel de Ville, which is City Hall, and the cathedral and everything, is pedestrian only. They have delivery trucks, and they have a little bus I'm going to show you, but other than that, you can't drive in here. And then below here, there's a lot of Roman stuff down in here. So it's a great walking town. It really is a really nice place to hang out. They have the population's about 147,000, so it's not very big. And then I checked out, there's like 77,000 students at this university that's been there since the Middle Ages. So and it's kind of relies on tourism, but there's just a really good mix of people there. and I don't know why it's not working now. Let's see, next. So I only show this slide here. The hotel isn't much to look at really, except for the fact that there was a dig going on right next to the hotel. So every morning we come out of the front door and we come down here. We're going down to the bakery to get our croissant and have our coffee and everything. And the archaeologists would be here working. And apparently somebody tried to start a building, some kind of development or something, and they ran into some Roman ruins. And so I was told, I asked one of the archaeologists, and she said it was about the second century, I think she said it was, from what they knew. I was kind of very interested in this, and they were just starting when we left. I thought I saw a mosaic down in here, like a mosaic floor. It was very cool to have that. This is just silly, I guess, but this cat was in the building across the street from us and on the second floor, and our room was on the second floor, and the cat would be let out in the evening. He'd run around the roof and everything, and I call him our cat Baba's cousin. And this is Baba here. Baba missed us while we were gone, I can tell you that. So Mike did his language lessons, not every morning, but most mornings. And while he was doing his language lessons, I did different things. I'd go and have coffee or walk around. And this is one of the fountains where we met. There's a lot of fountains there, and I'll show you those in a little while. But this was our meeting point after his class. His class was just around the corner, and there was a cafe across the street that we would go to. This is on the Cours Mirabeau, and I like early mornings. I'm an early morning person. And while he was doing his language thing, I'd come up here and the cafe would just be open. I'd be maybe the only person in the cafe. And I'd sit there and they have the best coffee. I can't tell you, it's just wonderful. And I'd sit there and I'd write postcards and stuff and watch people, take in the day. Just included this. There's a lot of wandering around that you can do there besides going to museums. You just kind of walk around and look at stuff. So this is the little bus I was going to tell you about. Now, this is actually not really for tourists right here. It's an electric, kind of like a golf cart, and it's 3 and 3 facing seats. You get go in the little door and you pay whatever it is, €1 or something like that. And then they're circulators. So there's 3 routes and they just go around in a circle all day long, and you flag them down at certain places and you get on if there's room. And if there's no room, you just have to wait for the other one. And they're perfect for the little old ladies like me who, if they've gone to market or something, got something to carry, or they want to get from downtown up on the hill. And Mike and I both have some mobility issues. I kind of killed my right knee the first day and had to use a cane the whole time. And Mike doesn't walk very far, so this is perfect for us. And in addition to the fact that we have the little diabline, there are benches all along the Cours Mirabeau and in various places, not to mention the fountains. So there's a lot of places where you can sit and rest. And we weren't the only ones that did that. One of the people in our tour, Joan Elizabeth Reed, is a very talented painter, and she did these little watercolor sketches that I'll show you a few of them while we were, wandering around. That was her focus. Now, I'm not going to show a whole lot of food, but right here, the croissants in France are better than you can get anywhere. I don't even bother trying them here. They're no good here. But I found that the croissants were suddenly too rich for me. And this is a breakfast that I used to have when I was a schoolgirl here in France. It's like a tartine, bread and butter and jam, and of course the coffee. And that's what I sort of survived on for breakfast. And I only included this because it was such a beautiful dessert. It's pavlova that we had at one of our group dinners. And it's with meringue and fresh berries and what's the stuff called? Whipped cream, and I think they had vanilla ice cream in it. Oh my God, it was the best dessert. I'd never had one before, and I kind of really enjoyed it. There's a little, there's a lot of bookstores all over France, but this particular bookstore in Aix is a English bookstore, and I was just curious about it. Just wanted to see what it was like. And there are a lot of students in here studying, actually. And there's several friends have said that they spent their college a year in Provence here in Aix. Anyway, it was kind of neat to see that. So we went there one afternoon. On the way down the hill from our hotel, we come across a sort of a patio here, and this is a monument to those who fought in the wars, the First World War, Second World War, um, Algeria, and Vietnam. Every 3 times a week, there is a clothing market on the Cours Mirabeau. It's very crowded, all kinds of clothes that you can get. They sell, fabric, and they sell purses and hats and all kind of stuff. And like I said, this is sort of a tourist town. I didn't encounter any kind of negativity really or anything like that.
Yeah.
But we were there from
I just got this for the volume.
April 4th to the we were April 4th to the what do you call it? To the 24th. And it was Easter vacation, and that's a big time in Europe, particularly in France. They get 3 weeks off. So there were people from all over France, from Germany, from Italy, and from Spain, as well as a few Americans. But, compared, there weren't that many Americans there, which I kind of liked. I kind of don't go overseas to hang out with a bunch of Americans. But anyway, this is a great, this is very hard to resist. This little market here that goes on. And I guess I should say, I kind of forgot to say, I am a kind of a market freak. I love open markets, farmers markets. My parents lived near a farmer's market. I used to lie on their living room floor. That's where I slept when I visited them. When they retired, they lived in Paris. And I could hear the stalls being set up before dawn in the morning and everything. And I just like wandering around and listening to people talk and the people selling stuff to you. So this is the big food market, farmers market up on top of the hill, and it's near the city hall of Aix. And of course, Joan Elizabeth did a nice little watercolor of that. This is the city hall building right here. And Mike was very surprised. I told him we were having lunch next to this one Sunday, and I said, the market ends around 1. I said, you watch. I said, in about a half an hour, it's all going to be gone. He's telling me I need to talk faster.
Yeah, you need to go get to the other slide.
He wants to get the other slides. He doesn't want me to go, okay, whatever. Okay, so anyway, here's that food market again, another angle of it. And then there's another market that's a daily market. So in my experience, again, the French tend to shop almost every day. So they go by and get their fresh stuff here. This is just a smaller version of the one that I showed you. One of the streets that I walked to coming out of our hotel down to the downtown, and here this guitar guy, I saw him, I can't tell you how many times. Wherever I went, he seemed to be there, and he's a great guitarist, played wonderful music. And so he was down at the clothing market for entertainment, back with coffee. The train station is off here to the right, and people are always coming. So you can sit here in these cafes and just watch people. It's like this parade of people, and we couldn't figure out where they were going. I don't know where I guess they were going into the pedestrian area, very narrow streets, and going to the shops and stuff. Like I said, there are a lot of people on vacation. So I kind of this is the Tribunal of Commerce. This is the Court for Commerce. I don't know what we call that in English. And these guys holding things up, and I just kind of love the expression on their faces. Here's another little cherub-like thing holding up a balcony, and there's another one I'll show you later. Now this is on one of the squares up on the hill, and this clock is a medieval clock. It's one of those clocks that the little personage comes out at noon every day, but it's a seasonal one, so it's spring, summer, fall, and winter, and the little guy changes his outfit, for those times of year. And there's a little walkway underneath to go further up the hill. Wisteria was in bloom all over the place. That was lovely. So Luberon is a region within Provence, and a lot of small villages, and we've visited a few places there. Thing is, you can't see everything, and one of the things that we really liked about this tour is that we had a lot of free time in addition to the tours that we took. So the first tour we took was to a market village called Île-sur-la-Sorgue, and it's on this canal, and this canals and rivers, they're combined. And you can see behind us back here that this is on Sunday, and it's this vast market again, with all kinds of goods. And I tried to avoid buying stuff, but I did get myself some dish towels. So after we had lunch, we got back on the bus, and we had the same driver the whole time. He's really good. And this is a town called Gogh. And Gogh is obviously, it's up on a hill, and it has all the little tiny streets that you see around. We did not go into Gogh because we were on our way somewhere else, but we got to take some pictures of it. And I was in my old job as a sanitary, and I was just wondering how they dealt with their sewage. I mean, it's up on a hill, and I don't know how they handle all that, but that's not of interest to anyone else. So throughout Provence, there's a lot of these stone houses. Back in the day, they kept their animals underneath, and lived up above. And we had a friend years ago that had a cottage in a small town that near here that she had one cold water faucet, and there was no plumbing. We had to take the waste down to the public toilets every day. That was my job when I visited. This is a town called Roussillon, and Roussillon being the etymology is for red, and it has this beautiful cliff that a lot of the stonework there is this variations on this orange color, and another watercolor by Joan Elizabeth depicting that cliff thing. This is the city hall. Roussillon is very small. I don't know what the population is, but let's just say it's very small. And there was a hill, and Mike didn't really feel up to walking up the hill, so I went up and sat in a cafe and had this fabulous Sunday while I was looking around. This is on the way up to the cathedral, and the colors really are like this. The sky really was this blue color, and this ochre sort of color on the buildings. The art stores were all selling pigment of various shades of this ochre color, and I didn't get any because I was afraid I don't know, I kind of didn't go in the stores. I was really afraid I'd kind of overdo things. This is the cathedral, which again, I didn't go into. I got as far as up to the close by, but my leg was sort of hurting, and so I was just using my cane. So I just looked at it from below. Not a lot of people. This was on a Sunday. I think in the summertime, it's probably excruciatingly crowded. I don't know that I'd recommend going here in the summertime. I don't like crowds that much, but it was a nice little town to visit. Now I saw these trees around, and at first I thought they were apple trees, but they're almond trees. And so around this area, one of the things they grow almonds, olives, they have vineyards, and they have lavender. And there are no lavender pictures because it wasn't in bloom at the time. But there are a lot of those trees, almond trees. And Aix has a factory that makes this almond candy that they're very proud of, that we both hated. Just awful. And I one of the rides we used to, on the Diabline, we used to, you want to go for a ride? Let's go for a ride. Okay. So one time I got on there just to go ride around, and this other woman got on there. We had this great conversation. I knew her life story by the time I got to the top of the hill, and she had worked in the factory that made this almond stuff, but I didn't tell her I didn't like the candy. I didn't want to disappoint her. Again, more stone work. I think that's very, very lovely. I could live in this house, really could. There's also a lot of cliff-like rock formations. And towards the end of the presentation, you'll see some more of this, but it's all throughout here. And there you could see actual caves along in here. It'd be interesting to know more about the populations there, prehistoric stuff. Again, this was sort of late spring, early mid-spring, and the vineyards weren't quite growing yet, but they were getting there. So Arles, as part of the art and architecture concentration, the arty people went to Arles, and that is where Van Gogh spent a lot of his time painting. And it's smaller than, it appeared to be smaller than Aix to the way I saw it. And one of the things it has, this is the thing I wanted to see, because I had been in Provence before, but I had not been to Arles that I can remember anyway. And there's an arena that's a little bit like the Colosseum. And I thought that was very cool, that it's still standing. But what is interesting, and it kind of offended me, frankly, to see these aluminum stadium seats, that they had stuck in here. But the fact is that from the time of the Romans, they are still using this arena for events. And what's going on here is there was a bunch of school kids, and this is on I don't know what day of the week this was, but again, this was their Easter vacation, and they were all learning how to bullfight in here. And I thought that was pretty neat. It further past the arena is this theater, and we didn't go into the theater, but there was a guy giving a talk here to some other tourists, and I got the impression that they actually use that for theater, for plays, that they still use that too. So by this time, this was in the morning, and by this time my knee was really killing me, and they were all going to go and look at the asylum where Van Gogh lived, and I was not up for that. And so a friend of mine in the tour and we went and had a very nice lunch on the square where the Yellow Cafe is, and still is. And then we met up with everybody at this church, and I couldn't get up the steps to that either, unfortunately. But I don't want to sound like I'm complaining, because we saw plenty. We had, we were very accommodated on all this kind of stuff. But one of the things, here I am with these gargoyles again, and these stoneworkers really had a kind of a sense of humor, I think. This one looks a little bit like a cat. This is the City Hall of Arles. And again, I just thought that thing up above, and the lion. You'll see this in a minute. The lion is the sort of the symbol of Arles, and the logo, if you will. Here to the right is the cathedral that you saw earlier, and there is a cloister in there, but I couldn't get up the steps, and so I just took a picture of it. But I really liked this statue here, and I don't think I can zoom into it, but it's the the blind man with the paralytic, and so like the blind leading the paralytic thing. I don't know. I just thought that was a really pretty statue. What was also interesting about Arles is there's this Frank Gehry building on the way out of Arles as you leave it, and it's a conference center. And he had some kind of he has some kind of friendship with Arles, or some kind of link to it, and he built this for the city. So here's where you guys might get a little bit tired of seeing Roman stuff, but this is the antique museum of Arles, and it starts with this beautiful lion walking into the entrance, and they've excavated all kinds of stuff. Here's Caesar. You see him on the coins from that era. And I just kind of, I guess maybe I'm into design. All these stone lintels and carvings, I think, are just really lovely. So this statue, what we were told is that the head is removable, and that when there's a change in administration, you can just, take the head off and put a new head on, which I thought was hilarious. The museum is located right on a circus where they used to have chariot races. And you can't really see the circus because the museum and a highway are built on top of it. And they didn't know this until things were already built. But they used to have chariot races near here. And they had excavated a ship, which this is kind of unusual to see this, that it hasn't fallen apart since they must have treated it, especially after they got it out of the water. But there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of rivers around here, and that's how they got their goods and their supplies. They transported that stuff. And I'm always amazed to see that Romans were working with glass. I don't know why I didn't think they could do that, but here's Mr. Head here again, removable head. And they decided, somebody looked at this at some point, and she looks a little bit like Venus de Milo, but what she's doing is she's holding a mirror and she's doing something with her hair. She's fixing her hair. And, you can't always tell without the arms, but that's what they say that she was doing. And there's a whole, I didn't get all of these, but this one example. There's a whole kind of room full of mosaic floors that are just absolutely stunning. So now we're going to kind of do some villages around Provence, outside of Arles, starting with this abbey. And there's abbeys all over Provence. And this is the Abbey of Sylvacan. There were 12 monks who lived here. It's been deconsecrated, so it's no longer used for services, and there are no longer monks living there. But it's a sort of it's not quite Gothic, but it's kind of getting there. They kept fish in here. That was a part of their protein there. And it's a very sort of spiritual place, very quiet. I like Gothic cathedrals and churches for that. It's a good place to go and sit and rest, and also to cool off in the summertime. There's some little chapels alongside. And here's the first cloister I wanted to show you. It was just, it was nothing really blooming in there, but it's just really lovely. I mean, I always say that, I'd be a monk if I could have a cloister. They're just really great places to contemplate, and very quiet. And some of the silent orders, the cloister was where they would congregate maybe once a day, and they were able to speak to each other where they couldn't do it otherwise. This is where they, this is the refectory where they ate. These stairs go up to their dormitories, to their cells. And then this here is where they used to do their illuminated manuscripts, right in here. I bet this was cold in the wintertime, though, I can tell you. Oh, God. And here's, you know, a source of light where they could do mending and that sort of thing. So Lourmarin is another small town. There's a chateau there. I did not take a picture of the chateau. I didn't think it was very pretty. It was sort of this block building. And I wasn't going in there anyway because there's something like 500 steps or something. Anyway, so I hung out by the fountain, by this pool, looking at these statues and watching people. Right outside of there is this really nice olive grove. And this is the town of Lourmarin. So we walked from the chateau to the town of Lourmarin. And some of these streets are so narrow that you could just hold your arms out and touch the walls. That's how close the buildings are to each other. There's one picture right here, right in here when you go back behind the church. This is the back of the church. It really is. It's really close. I don't know how many people live here. There weren't that many people around, but there were some restaurants down in the middle of town. And nobody's supposed to know this, but this is Albert Camus' house where he lived. He loved Lourmarin, and this is where he left from. He died when he was 47, I think, in an accident. He was with his publisher on his way to Paris, and you know, didn't make it, but this is his house. I don't know who stays there now. So this is from the wall from the chateau, and this is the view that you get of the surrounding countryside, and it's all pretty much like this, you know, very green, except for the parts near the mountains where there's that stonework and everything. So we had a couple of museum days, but this is the one that I chose to talk about. This is on my way downtown to meet people. Again, I've got to show the coffee. I tried to do that as often as possible. The hotel did have a breakfast, but it wasn't that great, and the coffee wasn't that great. And besides, my whole thing about living in France is sitting in a cafe. So this is the Cour Mirabeau, one end, and this is the king. I don't remember his name, the statue of the king that's at one end of the Cour Mirabeau, and it's near, this is where the museum is. It's called the Musée Granet. And one of the reasons that I wanted to go to Aix-en-Provence was to see the Cézanne paintings. And it was my only disappointment in that the Cézanne room was closed because they were building a big exhibition that started about the week after we left and is just finishing up now. So we were not able to see anything by Cézanne, but I did get to, you know, go in here and look around to some more. What?
You had a great lecture about.
Oh yeah, my peanut gallery. He said, yeah, we did have a great lecture by someone who does art lectures about Cézanne and about what it was like when he lived there and his role in Aix-en-Provence, and that was very good. That was before dinner one night. This is my favorite picture. This guy looks so sad. I love this picture, not because he's sad, but I just think it's a really good painting. So this again outside of the Musée Granet, and this is, you know, about, maybe if I were walking home, be about a 30-minute walk to get home from here, home to the hotel. The Hôtel de Caumont, and that's an hôtel particulier, is it's like a mansion where rich people live, and it became a museum. It has a lot of gold work up here on the balcony. I'm not all that interested myself in old furniture and stuff. I'll tell you that in a minute, but this is so the Aix had a lot of plane trees, and they became diseased, and a lot of the plane trees had been cut down, even the ones that were along the Cour Mirabeau, and they've had to cut them all down. And this is the disease here, and this tree is probably going to go at some point. And they're going to replace them with some kind of hardy maple, I think, but it'll be a while before all that comes back. It's kind of a sad thing. This is my favorite one. This guy looks like he has a headache. I just think it's so funny. And I had to show you that. There were a lot of, there's like a music room with a lovely, I think that's a spinet. Somebody more musical might know, bedroom and so forth. But the main thing that I liked about this place was it had a garden, has a cafe that you can eat outside and have a nice lunch there. And there's this beautiful fountain. Then another day we went to Avignon. I don't know if I could do it. So Avignon, there's a child's song called the music.
Sur la route d'Avignon, on y
danse sur le pont, on y danse tout en rond. Okay, so I had to see Avignon. This is the cathedral in Avignon, and then this is the castle. And both of us, it was a rainy day. It's kind of gray. Nothing wrong with that, but it was. And we decided that we weren't going to go into the castle because, again, of the stairs and everything. And so our guide coordinator made a arrangement. They have those little electric tourist trains. And so you might think that's a little silly, but anyway, we took a little tourist train and got to see a little tour of the town inside the walls. There is a town outside the walls, but the concentration was inside the walls. And this is the beginning of the bridge, the Pont d'Avignon. Here's some more. The walls are in excellent shape. I don't know if they go all the way around. I can't remember what they said. We were given a very nice lunch in a 400-year-old hotel. And after lunch, I told Mike I wanted to take a walk, and we had about an hour or something. So I went out and I got lost. I got lost in Avignon. I had no idea where I went. I just walked around and looked at stuff, walked down streets. Weren't that many people. Again, it was on a Sunday. It's kind of a narrow thing. And then I look at my watch, and it's almost 2:00, and we had to meet at 2:15 at the bus. And I didn't want to be the person, who kept everybody waiting. So my GPS actually worked. I was sort of surprised that it did work. It got me back to the cafe where he was. And the only reason I took this, I think this is Halley of Halley's Comet. And he must have lived here back in the 1600s. So they have a street dedicated to Edmund Halley. Outside of Avignon is the Pont du Gard, and famous aqueduct. I remember walking across here when I was 13, walking all the way across, and I was very surprised. I thought that they would have, but the structure must be okay because they allow cars to drive across here. I mean, it's not a super highway, but we did see some cars driving across, and that's permitted. And it's a gravity-fed water. If you have a town, you got to have water. And so that was how they got their water into the town. It's a really nice area, sort of like maybe a national park thing. This is a mill that's just upriver from the Pont du Gard. I didn't see the wheel. I don't know if it's still running. I don't think it is. I think it might be a restaurant or something, but it was a mill at one point. Oh, Mike wants me to tell you, yeah, the palace that I showed you before was the Palais des Papes, the Palace of the Popes. And there were two palaces. There was one in Rome and one in Avignon. And it took them a while to work out, where the the head palace was going to be. But for a while, there was a palace of popes in Avignon. So Marseille, Marseille was that was Easter Sunday when we went to Marseille. And the basilica is way up on the hill, and it's all hairpin tours. The bus goes up to the thing. And of course, it had scaffolding on it, which was sort of too bad. But it gave us this view, and there's a little movie here. I'm going to try to play. Yeah, it gave us a view of Marseille that was really pretty stunning. There's a couple islands out there. There are a lot of sailboats out. It's a big port, industrial port. And coming into Marseille, we drove through a lot of that. I can't help but think of Marseille as being, the French Connection and gangs. That's all I think of. But that was not what we saw. We saw this nice view here. We had lunch along the port. It was like right back in here is where we had our lunch. It was a buffet lunch that we had. Our tour did not always eat together. We had maybe 15 or so meals together, sometimes lunch, sometimes dinner in different restaurants. So that gave us a way to know, other restaurants if we wanted to go out. And this was one of our group lunch, group meals. We didn't have time to go into this museum. It's something like the Museum of Natural History in the middle of Marseille, and had a really nice fountain. So we had the opportunity, we had some free time. We had a lot of free time, actually. And that was one of the things I liked about this tour, is that we weren't always running everywhere. There were afternoons off. There were a couple of days off. There were some mornings off. And I wanted to go see Cassis. And the reason is because when I was a child, Cassis is a liqueur made from currants. And I remember tasting some homemade Cassis many years ago. And there's a drink, it's called a Cure Royale, and it's with Cassis and champagne that my mother used to like to drink. Anyway, this is the port of Cassis. It's very small. And there were a lot of people here along in here going back and forth. And we ate at a little restaurant here. It was one of the best meals that I had while we were there. There were a lot of very wealthy people going back and forth. And I kind of figured out that it was a day trip from Nice and Marseille. And people would come up on boats and stuff, and they'd spend the day there and then go back.
No Americans.
No Americans. Yeah, there were no Americans here, which was nice, and kind of a relief, really. And so a lot of guys wearing fancy watches, though. That was what I saw. And see you along in here watching the boats. Now, we took a ride. There's a national park called Les Calanques, and Les Calanques is a park of fjords. And you can take a boat and see 3, 6, or 9 fjords. So we took the boat that saw the 3 fjords, and it was a nice little boat ride. It was sunny, it wasn't too cold. And remember those cliff things that I showed you before? They're all in here. The national park, you see somebody up here, they were waving. The national park, there are hiking trails all along the top, but people also hang out at the bottom. This is the first fjord that we went and saw, and there were a lot of boats in there. And then we came out and went to the second one. And there's caves. You can see a lot of cave formation. There's somebody else up here. I'd be interested in hiking along there. That would be nice. The water really was this color. I was just so blown away by the color of this water, this like turquoise. Oh my God, it's so pretty. And I missed taking a picture of this, but somebody did one of those jumps, where you jump off and fly down. and I just kind of missed it. I just saw it out of the corner of my eye. See, there's a little beach in here, people going kayaking and swimming. And this is the water. That would have been something to swim in. So yeah, it was a very happy day. This is towards the end of our trip. It was maybe the next to last day. And here's the beach. There's a little beach in Cassis. And it really, by this time, having spent that time in Aix-en-Provence and those other places, I would be very open to like renting a house for 3 or 4 months and just staying there. You know, I'd be fine. It'd be fine. Mike, we're waiting for the driver to come back. So that day that we were in Cassis is when the Pope died. And I haven't gotten there, but the Pope died and I couldn't get to the into the cathedral. So instead I went to this, the Chapelle des Pénitents Blancs. And the museum that I showed you before, I kind of got out of order here. The museum that I showed you before was set up by a guy named Jean Planck, and he had a private art collection, and there wasn't any room for his art collection in the Musée Granet. And so they put it in this chapel. They made this chapel over into an art gallery. And I think it's a really stunning art space. Very quiet. There weren't that many people there. And it was cool and shady and just really nice. And I thought this guy had kind of a nice eye for art. So a lot of his paintings I could have in my living room. I'd be okay with that. I'm a fan of Bonnard. I don't like this painting as much, but this is a Bonnard that he had. And this one is very interesting. It's a Picasso, which I wouldn't see as a Picasso necessarily, but maybe one of the early Picassos. There's another guy that did a lot of collages. A lot of his collection had collages in it. And I don't know if you remember the bull in the corner of the Musée Granet. It was made by this guy, Sorel Etrog, and who made this. And I like his work too. This sculptor, I thought, has a great sense of humor. I can't see it with there's something under something printing, but anyway, Costa Alex, I think. Anyway, he did these series of heads, and I just loved them. And here's Mike with the man with hat number 40. I think they look alike, sort of. I have a whole series of paintings of Mike with sculptures. Love this too. I like to see a sense of humor in art. I think that's great. And I've been thinking about doing a painting of Sligo Creek, and I think of it this way: this green, love that green, all the shades. So it's a small museum, it's not very big. And then there's this Van Gogh, and I don't know, I mean, I'm not that art history person, but this just doesn't look like a Van Gogh or the Van Goghs that I know. You know, you think of Starry Night, you think of the irises or the sunflowers or something. But here the I guess it looks like gladiolas, sort of. But anyway, that's his Van Gogh painting that he had. Now back to the cathedral. This is when I couldn't go, and then I finally did go. After they let people back in, you know, after they were like doing their things, their Pope related things. And Joan Elizabeth did another painting of this. And this cathedral is interesting in that it's got 3 styles: Roman, Baroque, and Renaissance architecture. So it's kind of like all kind of put together. It's not exactly super graceful or pretty in by some people's estimation. But one of the things I thought was like hilarious, again, funny, I can't help it. So here's the organ, and opposite is a fake organ. This is just an organ that mirrors the other one or something. I'm not really sure why they did that, but they're face to face talking to each other, and looking at some of the paintings in the chapels and stuff. This is a great place to kind of sit and rest, actually, and be quiet. You couldn't get into where the baptismal font is. It's in here because of the Pope thing. They had that closed off. Now the cloister, you couldn't just walk in there. There's a tour like once an hour or something, and there's this older lady that gave a lecture of the tour of the cloister, and unfortunately you can see this little kind of fence thing that, so you can't actually sit there either. You can't spend time hanging out really, but she took us on a tour of the cloister, and there's 4 sides. It's square, and each side has a sort of a historical meaning, which I don't remember what it is, but she told us about, the different styles of the columns and the different historical meaning of the that side itself. And it had like a lot of kind of like this wildflower garden, which is really pretty. And I probably overdid it on these pictures, but I just really love it. It was a beautiful day that day, and it's to the side of the cathedral. It's not under it, it's sort of like next to it. Here's the cathedral right here, and so the cloister's sort of an adjunct to it, something. But again, wouldn't it be great to live there and have that as your backyard or front yard? I think it would be great. Just stunning. And there's one thing here. I didn't have a chance to ask her, but this is really old. It's like this was built before the column was built, or I don't know what this is, but it is like it's very different from all the carvings on all the other columns. And here's Joan Elizabeth again. So one of the things that Aix-en-Provence is known for is its fountains. This is another fountain of dolphins. They don't maybe look like dolphins, but that's what they call it. And so they're all over the place. You come around a corner and there's a fountain. You come around the corner and there's somebody sitting on a fountain. This is at the end of the Cours Mirabeau fountain, waiting for people. This is the where that big market was, that same square. And I asked this lady if I could take her picture because I love the colors that she was wearing. But this was on the clothing market day, and you can't really see it, but behind her, in front of her. And this is my cafe where I like to sit and have coffee in the morning. Mike meeting me. I managed to soak my sweater, and ladies came by, well, you got water on your sweater, and then another time my tote bag fell in there. But anyway, it's a nice place to sit and relax. And this is the big fountain at the bottom of the Cours Mirabeau. These two had this long conversation. I never could figure out what it was about. This fountain is next to the cathedral. It's like coming out of the wall of the cathedral. And this is a sort of a, can't remember what you call this, but it's a picture of Cézanne. And Cézanne wasn't much appreciated during his lifetime. They kind of, and then when things became famous, it became well known, Aix wanted to sort of appropriate him as, being their person. And the estate, the Cézanne estate was not real friendly to them because, they they just didn't have a good agreement about using his name. So for people who are interested in looking this up, this is the link to the 3-week stay in Provence. They do them throughout the summer, and into October, I think, something like that. The group that was coming after us was going to have 30 people, which I think that would be a lot. But it was a really nice tour. We felt like we were able to enjoy the city and like being in it. I mean, we didn't feel too touristy. I mean, we just felt comfortable there. And you can rent cars and go driving around in the country. You can take buses, all kinds of tours and everything.
Podcasts.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of drivers that hire out. That's a big thing for them. It's not hard to find somebody to drive at all. So that's our summary of our little 3-week tour in Provence, and hope you liked it.
Oh, it was fantastic. Everybody, let's Roberta, if perhaps you could hit the stop share and then we can thank you properly. Oh, look at this crowd. Everyone was on the edge of their seats looking
Yes,
at photos. So let's thank Roberta
thank you.
Thank you.
and
Thank you.
Mike in the distance there. Yeah.
Yes.
That's great. I'm going to stop the recording now. Thank you all for being here. We'll stick around and ask questions in just a second.